in theaters, well, maybe for a little bit longer as I record this. Maybe by the time you see this, it's already on video, and that's not an issue. Antlers, new horror movie starring Keri Russell about the Native American myth, legend, creature, the Wendigo. Basically an antlered forest beast that is nothing you want to run into anytime soon. I actually quite liked Antlers. So the basic story here, Keri Russell is a troubled local grade school teacher who has a troubled, very quiet youth in her class who she tries to help, to befriend, to see what's wrong with him. She has a suspicion that his family life is not good. Maybe he's being abused, and she's trying to sort of take him under her wing and look out for the little kid because he seems to be smart, but just not terribly verbal and just looks very depressed and disturbed. Turns out this boy's family life is not what anybody would like it to be. Again, I don't like to get too much into the plot here, but I will say more or less what the trailer gives you and more or less what the opening of the movie gives you. The little boy has a young brother, slightly younger brother, and a father, both of whom are not well, both of whom are kept in the attic behind padlocks, both of whom are fed uncooked meat, I think. I don't think they're getting fine meals where they are in this grubby, dingy attic in this broken down, sort of like a farmhouse up in the mountains. I believe it's Oregon, this is set. Washington, Oregon, Pacific Northwest. And basically this little boy who Keri Russell is looking after from a distance lives alone and is taking care of these two people who are not well in his house. And it involves a Wendigo. So there's not a whole lot of intricate plotting to this film. It's not a very large cast either. Amy Madigan is in it, and Keri Russell, and just a couple of other people. Actor whose name slips my mind, but who's great, plays Keri Russell's brother. If I did research before this, I'd tell you, but you know, I'm kind of an on-the-fly guy. And I thought this movie was really, really well done. Incredibly atmospheric, very well shot. I saw this in the theater on a big screen with this, immersive experience with surround sound and a nice big image, and it just drew me in. Just the atmosphere was intense, and it felt damp. It's up in the Pacific Northwest mining area, and just it felt grungy and damp and depressed, which is the overall tone it's going for, and just I was on edge the whole time. Now, there are jump scares in this movie, which I loathe. I've said it a million times. I hate jump scares. Jump scares are not legitimate. They are a way to diffuse tension, but they're not legitimate as a reaction to me. They're a physical reaction. I always say, if I tickle you and you laugh, it's not because you thought what I did was funny. It's your body reacting to a stimulus, and that's what a jump scare is. It's not an earned scare. The suspense that leads up to the jump scare is. And I always felt like it was a cheat the 2 or 3 times they did extremely loud jump scares in this movie. But other than that, it's so well crafted. It is so well, the way the characters are developed, the way the scenes move toward this eventual revelation of what the badness is and what is going on with the people in the attic. I will say that, so it's in the attic, locked R, in no particular order. The protagonist, young boy's younger little brother, and the little boy's father. The father is extremely not well, shall we say. There are moments where you see him where it took me out of the movie a little bit because it's a little bit of CGI, but it's also just a little too much overtly horrific. Losing my words here, but the film is so subtle most of the time, and then we see the father, and he's like, rah, rah, and I'm just like, that takes me out of it a little bit because it's such a dramatic shift in tone. Ultimately, there are very, very, very gory moments. You see the aftermath of some attacks. You see some creature things. You see some violent moments that are wildly gory. Very, very well done. Like highly impressive practical effects. And there's some CGI in there, which always takes me out of things too. But it's mostly practical you see in this film. And the end is very, you see what's going on in the end, and that's cool. But those moments with the father personally just took me out of it a little bit because it was too aggressively horror, whereas the rest of the film was really, really well-crafted suspense. So I would pretty highly recommend Antlers. It's probably one of the better horror films I've seen in quite a while in the theater. I like horror movies. It's this weird thing being a horror fan, or I don't know, a discerning horror fan or whatever. I see a lot of horror movies. I don't like most of them, but I like the trappings of a horror movie. So I'll just keep going to get those 2 or 3 every year or two that I think are really, really good. And for me, Antlers is one of those 2 or 3 that's been really, really good in the last few years. So if you can see it on the big screen, I highly recommend it. It'll still be great at home, but I think in a big dark theater, it'll be even better. Antlers.